Can you imagine if the Golden State Warriors, like we all know Steph isn't a great defender. People are like, oh yeah, he's a serviceable team defender. Could you imagine if the Golden State Warriors decided that they were going to play a defensive system where we switch everything? We're going to switch everything. So therefore, if we're playing against the Memphis Grizzlies, and Zebo sets a screen on Mike Conley, Steph, your job is to guard Zebo. That's basically what Stephanie White's doing. And that's how Raven Johnson picked up 6 fouls. It's not Raven's fault.
Indiana Fever's defensive performance against Portland was not simply poor. It was, by most analytical standards, worse than anything produced under the previous coaching staff. The critical distinction being drawn is that the failures were not personnel failures. They were schematic ones, and they were entirely predictable given the defensive system being deployed. Is a blanket switching scheme applied to a roster that is fundamentally unsuited for it. Switching works when a team has perimeter defenders capable of guarding multiple positions and interior players quick enough to recover on the exterior. Indiana has neither in sufficient quantity.
Basically what Stephanie White's doing. And that's how Raven Johnson picked up 6 fouls. It's not Raven's fault he's being asked to guard centers. It is not Raven Johnson's fault that she is being asked to guard bigs. Because she is not, like, she's a handsy defender. Like, she is somebody that plays defense with her hands. And for better or for worse, she got away with it in college because you're allowed to be overly physical in college. But she absolutely plays defense with her hands. And it's one of those things anyway, with playing defense with your hands, that she's going to pick up fouls. Like, unfortunately.
The practical consequence is a series of catastrophic mismatches that the defensive system generates rather than avoids. Raven Johnson, a guard, was repeatedly switched onto post players, accumulating fouls through contact she could not avoid given the size disadvantage. Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull were left guarding Emily Engsler on the boards in multiple possessions, contributing to Portland taking 11 more shots than Indiana in the first quarter alone. Aaliyah Boston, Mo Billings, and Maisha Hines-Allen were frequently pulled out to the three-point line, leaving Indiana's interior defended by players standing 5'8". The rebounding deficit was not a hustle problem. Clark's defensive struggles are similarly misattributed when they get reported as individual failures.
Hands that she's going to pick up fouls. Like, unfortunately, that's going to happen. It's not her fault she's guarding bigs. I've said this so many times. Caitlin, just like Paige, just like AZ's the best of the three of them, cannot guard in space. Caitlin's really good as a weak side player. She's very, very good as a weak side roaming defender. She gets a lot of steals, she gets weak side blocks. And she's also good if she is able to get someone
She is an effective weak side defender, active, capable of generating steals and off-ball blocks, and functional in tight spaces. What she cannot do is guard in open space laterally, which is a limitation she shares with players like Paige Buchers and, to a lesser extent, Aja Wilson. A defensive system that consistently soft switches her onto players like Carly Curry, one of the most downhill guards in the league, is setting her up to either concede layups or pick up fouls. In the Portland game, Clark was placed in that exact position on nearly every possession. She was paradoxically probably Indiana's best individual defender on the day, and still ended up in foul trouble because the scheme demanded she do things outside her defensive skill set. The comparison that keeps coming up is Steph Curry in the Golden State system.
In a close area. In tight spaces, she's a good defender. What she can't do is guard in space. She's not quick enough laterally to guard in space. And she's a bit handsy as well. So why the hell are the Indiana Fever letting a team walk into situations where Caitlin is automatically guarding in space? where Caitlyn is just automatically guarding in space. Because what's going to happen if Caitlyn's guarding in space? She's either giving up a layup, especially on a Carla she's giving up a layup or a foul. It's as simple as that.
Curry is not a dominant on-ball defender, but Golden State built coverages that hit him on weak side rotations, deployed switching selectively, and sent help intelligently. Indiana is doing the opposite, switching universally, sending no disciplined help, and forcing Clark into the exact positions where she is least effective. The result is that every opponent game plan involves walking into a switch, finding the mismatch, and going downhill without resistance. There is no directional forcing happening either. Indiana is not funneling ball handlers to their weak hand, not consistently giving jump shots to poor shooters, while crowding driving lanes against threats, and not using help rotations in any structured way. The defensive philosophy, to the extent one exists, appears to be man up and stop your opponent, with no schematic tools to assist when individual matchups are lost, which against a competent offense happens constantly.
Or a foul. It's as simple as that. And Steph White doesn't care. She doesn't care about running a system for her players. Not only that, do you know that in the first quarter, the Portland Fire took 11 more shots than the Fever? Why is that? People are like, oh, the Fever don't box out. It's not the Fever's fault. It's not the Fever's fault. The Fever have Kelsey Mitchell guarding Emily Engstler on rebounds. It's not their fault. Like, most possessions early in this game ended, I'm not joking, with Meg Gustafson and Emily Engstler being guarded by...
The roster assembly questions compound the coaching ones. Indiana reportedly declined the opportunity to acquire Emily Engstler when she was available from Washington at minimal cost. Engstler went on to become one of Portland's key defenders, the exact type of physical, versatile defender Indiana needed and did not sign. The broader pattern is a roster built with insufficient attention to the physical and defensive profile required to make a soft switching scheme remotely functional. Back-to-back defensive disasters against the same opponent, both attributed to the same structural breakdowns, represent a threshold beyond frustration for a team that entered the season with legitimate playoff expectations and 3 players capable of ranking among the league's best. The defensive output has been genuinely inexplicable.
Joking. With Meg Gustafson and Emily Engstler being guarded by Kelsey Mitchell and Lexi Hull. Aaliyah Boston, a lot of possessions, was guarding Sarah Ashley Barker on the 3-point line. There are so many defensive possessions where Aaliyah, Mo Billings, and Mai Shines Allen are guarding the 3-point line while the interior defenders are 5'8". No shit. They're not getting rebounds. No shit. No shit. That is not the fault of any of the players. There are reasons you can fault the players, and congratulations to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations.
One subpar shooting performance was all it took. Within days of Clark having an off night, a coordinated wave of negative coverage descended. Columnists, commentators, and media personalities who had spent months dancing around direct criticism of Clark suddenly found their footing. Figures like Carrie Champion, Jameli Hill, and Renee Montgomery, among others, moved from the margins of the conversation to its center. The timing was not coincidental. A particular column, making the rounds, has been flagged as the clearest example of the shift.
There are reasons you can fault the players, and congratulations to the San Antonio Spurs. Congratulations. Like, Wemby's the future go. Wemby's the future go. But, like, I hate this. I fucking hate this. Because if you look at a team that's undersized and active, why did the team not sign a single dog? Like, everyone talks about, oh, look, like...
The piece opens by declaring Clark's honeymoon period officially finished, positioning the backlash as an inevitable chapter in the arc of any transcendent athlete. James endured it. Tiger Woods endured it. Peyton Manning endured it. The framing presents the current wave of criticism as natural and impersonal, a predictable cycle rather than a targeted campaign.
Why did the team not sign a single dog? Like, everyone talks about, oh, look at Sophie. Just because Sophie put someone in a fucking headlock doesn't mean she plays like that. Doesn't mean she's an Angsler. The Indiana Fever, from as far as we read from reports, had the opportunity to trade for Emily Angsler a year ago, and it would have cost them Dantas in a second. I'm not 100% sure of this, but as far as I'm aware, they turned down an Emily Angsler trade when she was not getting minutes for the Mystics. Could you imagine if this team had Angsler?
That framing is being challenged directly by those who see the column as something more deliberate. The article drew immediate attention. Rather than a standard game photo, the editors chose a picture of Clark, taken immediately after she was elbowed in the nose. A choice that many read as setting a particular tone before the first sentence was even encountered. The column's central accusations focus on two behaviors: exaggerated reactions to contact and confrontational exchanges with referees. On the first charge, the piece describes Clark as falling to the floor at least once per game, either after initiating contact herself or without being touched at all.
The other day, and man, the Wolves have come out of the woodwork. I mean, Grand Marshal at the Indy 500, Morgan Wallen. See, we told you. What are we doing here? What are we doing? So now Caitlin Clark is exhausting. By the way, she accused...
On the second, it frames her interactions with officials, clapping, demanding they pay attention, as dripping with condescension rather than the garden variety frustration that every competitor displays. The rebuttal to both charges is consistent. These behaviors exist across the entire league. When she is the one doing them, the column does concede Clark's talent without reservation.
She accuses her of being cringy and throwing tantrums in this article. Let's look at this hit piece. I mean, this is a bona fide hit piece, folks. There's no other way to describe it. Caitlin Clark's honeymoon was never going to last. Here we go. Any athlete this hyped and this adored always gets its comeuppance. I love how the media members, kind of like, oh, shithead.
Her range, her passing vision, her ability to reshape a game's trajectory in moments, none of that is contested. The rivalry with Tiffany Hayes is even framed approvingly as the kind of competitive edge that enriches the sport. But the piece then draws a firm line between acceptable fire and what it calls conduct that reflects poorly on the league, placing the burden of behavioral solstansters squarely and uniquely on Clark. The burden argument is where the pushback becomes most pointed. Clark is told she carries a responsibility that other athletes do not, because she is the face of women's basketball.
How the media members, kind of like, oh, shithead the other day trying to do a victory lap over his media credentials. The uppity bullshit from the media. I mean, again, this is why I don't have respect for these people. The uppity, I'm better than you. You're not a doctor. Just point that out. You're not a doctor, all right? We don't call you Dr. Nothing. God, the look at me, the see me.
Yet, when Diana Taurasi spent years openly confronting officials, kissing opposing players during altercations, and crashing out in ways that would fill a highlight reel of misconduct, the same accountability, journalism, was nowhere to be found. The selective application of standards is seen as the tell. The column also insists that the increased physical attention Clark receives is simply smart defense. That she is guarded harder because she is dangerous everywhere on the floor, not because of anything beyond basketball. That explanation does not sit well with observers, who see a longer pattern of conduct directed at her that has never been applied equally to other players in the league. Where the fan base stands is also disputed.
The look at me, the see me, me. It's happened to LeBron, it's happened to Tiger Woods, it's happened to Peyton Manning. But Clark's own actions are accelerating hers. The flopping that even a C-list actor would find cringy. The histrionics over calls and the disrespect towards refs. The indignation over reasonable questions about.
The column claims Clark is losing supporters as her personality becomes more familiar. That assessment is not reflected in any observable data. The divides around Clark were established the moment she entered the league, and the people who dislike her have never been difficult to identify. The argument being made in response is that those divisions have far more to do with who Clark is off the court than anything she has done between the lines. The net result of the current media moment is clear enough. Negative coverage of Clark now generates more traffic than positive coverage, and every editorial room has absorbed that lesson. One difficult game was the permission slip the industry had been waiting for.
Reasonable questions about health of a player who missed most of last season with a series of injuries. It's made Clark into the WNBA's own Rorschach test. Either you think she can do no wrong or she's an entitled brat. And the number of people who don't hold an opinion seems to be dwindling in what is only her third season. Look at this sub-headline, folks. Trash talk is fine. Tantrums are not. Clark is a transcendent player. Save it, woman. Save it. You're already on the shiznit list, officially. No one disputes that. By the way, it's perfectly fine for people to be asking questions about injuries. I will say that. After last season and what's going on, I will say that. After last season and what's going on this season, it's valid. By the way, the Fever doing that probable shit every day, she's probable. No, that's bullshit too. You're hiding what the actual real scenario is involving this injury. The injury that there was none. Remember? They swore up and down there wasn't one. Anyway, Clark is a transcendent player. No one disputes that. Her logo threes remain transcendent player. No one disputes that. Her logo threes remain worth the price of admission. Her ability to flip a game in an instant makes the Indiana Fever a must-watch whenever they play. If you want to teach a kid how to menace opponents, have them watch a highlight reel of Clark's passes. This also isn't a criticism of Clark's trash talking or pearl clutching, because women's athletes dare to have the same competitive fire as athletes. Player beefs like Clark's with Tiffany Hayes of the Valkyries are part of what makes sports so